Who, Mia Goth?
Yeah, is that what she sounds like?
She sounds like this.
No.
I'm telling you, she's British, but I do a better British accent than she does. I don't think she knows.
That is alarming.
Yeah. She's so weird, man.
But she's a star.
Oh, I'm a star, love.
What do you mean she's British?
She's straight up British, yeah.
Damn.
She's actually, this is going to blow your mind. She was born in Britain.
No.
Yeah.
In this economy?
In London. Yeah, in London.
That's nutty.
Yeah, but she had to get the fuck out and become a star.
Smash it.
Yeah, so today I watched like 3 movies.
Yeah.
Infinity Pool, which is where the Mia Goth of it all comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Then I watched Rye Lane, which is another horror film that is really good. Just kidding, it's not. Speaking of London, though, they're also from London because it's set in London.
What genre is that film? Rye Lane.
Romantic comedy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's good.
You're like set in London, a romance horror.
The horror
Love
of being
doesn't
in
exist there.
South London, mate.
Oh,
Good movie, really good movie, actually.
sick. Yeah.
You guys should check it out, and you, my co-host. But I also watched Donnie Darko, and I've always really liked Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
And we're never going to talk about it on this pod because it's kind of too culty in a good way. I know that it's not like loved by everyone, but I've always really liked it. And actually, the older I've gotten, the more I've liked it.
Mm.
But it doesn't get credit for one thing that's super important. And that thing is that it's Seth Rogen's very first cinematic appearance.
Really?
But that's not just that. It's Seth Rogen's cinema debut, and the first thing he ever says on camera is, "I like your boobs."
I mean, it's pretty on brand for our guy.
Yeah, and I don't think people recognize that. Like, they obviously saw that and were like, "This guy is going to be a fucking star."
Yes, he's a star.
I like your boobs.
Yeah, that
says
word
it
is
to
banned.
Yeah, he says it to Jenna Malone, and
To Jenna Malone.
Yeah, it's creepy.
What boobs?
Huh?
Jenna Malone got titties.
Well,
Well,
I believe she's a lady.
she is. She is. She's one of our favorite ladies from our favorite pods.
She's a great lady.
Yeah.
I like Jenna Malone a lot. She's
Shout
excellent
out
in
Neon
Donnie
Demon.
Darko. Yeah, of course.
That's what I'm thinking. Like,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
She's got titties in that. We see them.
Maybe.
She wanders around smoking weed with her shirt off. She's got all those awesome tattoos on and
That's
stuff.
what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
all I saw was, like, limbs and tats.
Yeah.
But they're there.
They're
Get
there.
it, girl.
Yeah.
Get it, Seth.
Well done. Welcome to the Low Ceiling. I'm John.
And I'm pretty.
I wanted to get something out of the way quick because I realized we haven't really done this consistently in the past. Today we're doing Suspiria. We're doing the 2018 version of Suspiria, directed by Luca Guadagnino. I don't think we mentioned the director in our last episode.
Did we not?
No, and which is funny because it's directed. Alpha Dog was directed by Nick Cassavetes, who's the son of John Cassavetes, like a legendary director.
Mm-hmm.
Also the director of The Notebook.
Yeah, you know.
So I don't know.
Alpha Dog, another one of his romances.
Sorry, Nick, but yeah. Today we're talking about Suspiria, the remix. I don't want to call it the remake.
It is a remix. That's the right
remix
word.
of Suspiria.
Yeah.
Which I think is a fucking awesome movie. Yeah.
Such a big fan. Me too. It is, and I love the first one too. I thought it was great. It was different. It was colorful. This one is more moody. It's more dark.
Drab.
Drab.
Deliberately drab, right?
Oof.
One thing I like about this movie a lot. Now, I'm not actually like super like married to the original Suspiria that much. Like I've seen it and I actually watched it again yesterday and I was just kind of like, yeah, it's good. I'm not like crazy about it.
Mm.
I can see what's good about it. I really like this remake.
Hell yeah.
Remix. And one thing I do like about it is that the reason I think it's good is because it's not trying to remake Suspiria.
No.
It's trying to take the idea of Suspiria and make a whole new Suspiria out of it.
Yeah.
Which I love. And I think it does a good job of that. I think it does a bad job of other things, but I think it does a really good job of delivering you something different.
Yeah, it's a linear kind of horror. The plot, you know what's going to come at some point, even if there are some twists and turns at the end, even if the mythology is a little bit confusing, even if
the thematic connection to historical events is a little confusing too.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's another one that I'm not like the biggest fan of, being in context to real time. Like, oh, Berlin Wall, and it's like, I could have done without it too. I don't really give a shit. I just want to see witches with titties.
You see a few too.
Yeah.
You know what does? Speaking of the Germany of it all, one thing I think that this movie doesn't do very well is that it's set in Germany.
Yeah.
And yet not a single person is standing around in lederhosen eating sausages. And so how do you even know?
Because they're
It's
not
in
allowed
Germany.
to that part of Germany, babe.
What are you talking about? They're in West Germany. Everyone in that part of, or they're singing the Yodelehi song from the top of a mountain, wearing lederhosen,
Yeah.
and eating Wurst or whatever it's called.
I don't know.
Also, I promise we have a close friend who listens to this pod who's German.
Yes.
I will not be doing a German accent out of respect for them.
I feel like she would be remiss if you did not do it. So, in her honor, what do you have to say?
No, I can't. No,
I got nothing.
I can't do it. I'm just saying, more lederhosen, more sausages, and we're talking about a German film. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. From the days of M, one of the first talkie murder mysteries, up to the lives of others, lederhosen and sausages always in that.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's why witchcraft existed.
Yeah. So you're a big fan of this movie.
Yeah.
I only just recently saw it, which is why we're doing it now. Is because I was like,
That's
I saw it and I was like, this is kind of a perfect film too.
Hell yeah.
In reading more about it, the reviews were very mixed. Some people were like, this isn't Suspiria, and other people were like, nah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, of course,
Yeah.
because they expected like a modern version of the 70s Suspiria, and they got something totally different outside of maybe a couple things that remained similar, aka there's witches in it,
Dancing.
there's a young girl in it, they be dancing.
Yeah.
And that's it. Outside of that, the new Suspiria 2018 one is just popping off.
It's a whole other movie. And I think that
And it's a better movie?
oh, can we say that without
I don't care, they're dead. I'm out here young and living it.
Everyone who likes Suspiria is
Hey,
dead.
yo, the younger Suspiria, way hotter.
To be honest, I wasn't going to say this, but I do kind of like this movie more.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I rewatched Suspiria yesterday, and I was like, I mean, I've seen better.
I saw, what's that director's name? Luca Guadagnino?
No, this director
This
is
one.
Luca
The
Guadagnino.
2018
yeah,
one?
Yeah.
I mean,
Dario Argento directed the
seen,
original.
as soon as his name came on the screen, the only thing I could think of was, where the hell you been, Luca? 'Cause I've been waiting for this movie. And I'm happy.
You really
with
like this movie that much?
I really do.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm a big fan of like witches and vampires and all the cool fantasy monstrosities.
Yeah.
And this one delivers hard. Even though it's like told in a somewhat poetic way for like 5% of it. There's a lot of dance and art and all that stuff. But even within it, there's layers of horror that you're just uncomfortably waiting for it to be sprung on you.
But it's not very horror-esque, though. There's very few horror parts. And that's, I think, what I really kind of like about it. There's like tension. But also, one thing I've thought about, I've watched this movie like 3 times in the past couple of weeks just thinking about it. One thing I really like about it, and it's true about the old Suspiria too, is when you're watching it, it's so intentional.
Yes.
And it's so artful. And I as we've discussed with friends, like I'm a total novice about Luca Guadagnino. I've seen this, and I've seen Bones and All. And
Bones and
we
All.
only watched Bones and All last week.
That's right.
I've never seen A Bigger Splash. I've never seen Call Me by Your Name, which has been on my list
Huge
forever.
shout out.
But like, you can tell this guy, it's like maybe the art isn't quite landing, but this is a very artful film.
Yeah.
Even when it comes down to something like the visual aesthetic being so different from the original Suspiria, and that's like totally on purpose. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, because I was just gonna say, because of the intentional colors and choice of music that he put into Call Me by Your Name, you see this movie as being like fucking 180. What a contrast! And I haven't seen the movie, but just from like the trailers, or seeing the colors of the posters, you would not have expected the same guy to have directed both these films.
Yeah. or even the
Yeah.
cannibal film.
There you go.
Like,
Bones and all. Yeah.
it's such an interesting contrast between all of his
Yeah.
things, especially when, so, like, okay, to be totally perfectly honest about my own shortcomings, like, Luca Guadagnino was never really on my map until Call Me By Your Name came out and was, like, critically acclaimed, right? And then you hear about, like, A Bigger Splash, which is another movie which I really want to see, because not only does it star Dakota DJ Johnson, our favorite actress, but it's like also, it sounds so similar to Call Me By Your Name in ways. It's like, it's kind of a holiday hang vibe movie. I think it's set in Italy too.
Yeah.
And when I was like, oh yeah. And then I heard of this movie and I was like, oh, that guy made Suspiria?
Yeah,
like,
shocking,
so weird.
right? Strange.
Yeah. But then I honestly, like, kind of dismissed the idea of, like, I was like, I don't know, like, because I wasn't totally crazy about the original Suspiria.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll watch it if I want to. And then I threw it on and I was just like, this movie fucking rules. This is so good.
Yes.
And it has so many things going for it and so many things that are not good about it.
Yeah.
Which I understand why people don't like it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like all of the movies we kind of talk about positively on this podcast, he's really trying a thing and he's kind of getting it, but he's not quite getting it, but that doesn't really matter.
No.
Yeah. So
because he's definitely, like, stylistically, even from the way the camera moves, the speed with which it chases character to character, you can see it's, like, a little bit jarring and sudden and different than Bones and All, for instance.
Yeah,
where it's like you always POV, like the other part, but like in this one, the camera angle's like over the left side of your head, looking from the ceiling down. Or
it's
something.
also like it's in kind of places you're not sure why or things like that. There's I think we mentioned it because we watched a bit of it together, and I was like, isn't that weird? There's this shot in the lobby when the camera just moves across the lobby and looks into the mirror.
Yes.
Seemingly for no reason.
Yeah.
But then I actually realized. Well, okay, and I don't know what I'm trying to... I haven't really been able to unpack how I feel about this, but then I realized there's so many shots of them in mirrors.
Yes.
And there's so many shots of the camera looking pointed at the mirror.
Yeah.
You're not pointed at the actor. And it's so interesting. Even in points where Mia Goth, she's British, and Dakota Johnson are chatting by the elevator.
Yeah.
And the camera cuts to the gold plating around the elevator, which shows a warped reflection of the two of them standing there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why. But it's so interesting. Now go. You know why.
I think I know why. It's because, well, we'll talk about it in the plot as well, but later on they discover that this dance studio, this ballet studio, is basically kind of a labyrinth. There's many hidden rooms, many hidden floors, but also in the drawings of one of the missing dancers who runs away or probably is dead.
Patrizia
has
Chloe
journaled.
Grace Moretz.
She's journaled an entry where she's talking about how there's two planes and it's almost like you're getting sucked in from that 3D to a 2D form.
Oh.
And and that is what the mirror could probably signify, is that there's always parallels. So what I'm thinking is that infamous dance scene with Dakota Johnson when she's doing this chaotic like dance, this contemporary movement, and then parallel to that she's basically controlling this other dancer's body, and that is probably happening literally right next to her in another room past the mirror.
And also, as we see later, Dakota Johnson is dancing and she's on the floor and Marcos is touching the floor below her, and Dakota Johnson can feel her even though she doesn't know what it is. So it's like she's being separated by this plane on these other two sides of the world, which is really interesting.
So it's the mirror world and then this world, and because of the witchcraft they're able to control actions in one world into another.
Okay.
I fucking wrote this shit.
My girl got thoughts.
What's up?
Yeah. THOTs.
THOTs.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing because like there's so many, and not to mention the nightmare sequences that Dakota Johnson is plagued by. Yeah. There's a mirror in one of the early ones that shatters on the floor.
Yes. And even the shapes look like reflections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Again, I'm not fully clear. I would have to unpack it a lot more. But I'm no Pauline Kael, so I can't really figure it out for myself. I'm too dumb. But
tell me more about Pauline.
I don't know.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Fucking film reviewer. I don't know.
Over there.
Sure. Writes for W Mag. I don't know. So like I was saying that. sorry. Pauline Kael is like one of the most respected film critics ever.
I know.
No, she's cool.
Yeah.
Pauline, you're cool. I know you're listening. So like I said, like a lot of these ideas don't fully land. This like the kind of mirror idea does land for me.
Yeah.
Weirdly, another kind of theme that I don't really feel very connected to, which I guess isn't surprising, is the whole motherhood thing.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm watching this movie, I never really think of that at all, even though it's so very clear in the themes of the movie. However, do you have something to say about that?
About that?
Okay, because I was going to move on, but go.
So, I if you want to think of it like the Antichrist, right? The way
film?
The concept of it.
Okay.
Christ, Antichrist, mother, witchcraft, right? So when towards the end, there's a moment where Mother Marcos, one of the characters who looks like Jabba the Hutt, tells Dakota Johnson's character, you must renounce your fake mother, aka your birth mother.
And then her mother dies. In real time, across the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To take on the form of one of the terrifying witch mothers, right? And so that is why that motherhood thing is like drawn as a horror parallel.
Yeah.
So they're kind of deifying the demon in a positive light, but bringing it to the real realm in a way. I think their mother is as important a term as like a nauseous word like witch is.
Right.
Like you use it in a negative way.
Okay.
It's kind of like reclaiming the word slut, for instance.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going for that.
Something like that. Well, there is definitely like in the fact that they bring Klemperer, the doctor, to be the witness.
Yeah.
Because he takes part in like the systemic thing of psychiatry towards women. Like when the one woman grabs him and says like you know women come and tell you all of these issues and you dismiss them as delusions and things like that.
Totally.
Like I see what you mean with the reclamation of their own kind of this thing that's been told by people is evil is actually a force for good. Kind of.
Because it's like a mother's life giving, but then so can sorcery be.
As I wrote down, you know, we're witches and we want to dance. That's what they're all about.
Yeah.
Really. That's their whole.
Sick. Yeah. Love it.
We're witches. Let us dance.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, fair enough. That's fair enough. So on the historical elements, as you know, we've talked about it on this podcast. Like I'm a big like war buff,
Huge
like of
buff.
that history, period of history. I've also been really interested in the history of like the Holocaust, not just like World War II, but the Holocaust specifically, and like post-war Germany and post-war France and things like that. I find really interesting because it's kind of a very strange period, obviously.
Yeah.
But I remember this movie kind of gets close to it. But I remember when I was young, I read The Reader, which is a book by Bernard Schlink, which got turned into a film, which I think the film is okay, but the film actually doesn't do a good job of what I'm about to talk about.
Right.
The Reader, so I read it in my early 20s, and it was like one of the first times that it does such a good job. If no one's read it and you want to read it, it does such a good job of talking about the Holocaust and what that was like for Germans, you know, who weren't participating in it, but knew that it was happening.
Yes.
And like what Nazism was kind of like. And the generation just post-war who were like, oh my God, like my parents were around when all of this was happening. Yeah. And it gave this perspective that I just couldn't understand and honestly didn't get from like education or growing up or whatever, because we as you know, we're Canadian and we were busy talking about fucking beaver pelts and like I don't know, you know, so and taking, you know, the property of Japanese people and recontributing them to white people, things like that, the normal Canadian
cool
stuff, right?
Stuff.
You know, brushing Indigenous people's rights under the rug, normal Canadian just heritage moments. But this movie, I think, has those themes really strongly. I think it's really interesting. Something that I read about a little bit was like this post-World War II time in Germany. Now, I'm going to say a German word that's, I think it's about 400 characters long, and it's really hard to say.
It just means hey.
It's a short German word, but long for us English speakers.
Yeah.
And it's called the Vergangenheit Bewältigung. Okay. And it's a time of like when Germany had to post-Nazism had to reflect on Nazism
Mm-hmm.
and then like try to really understand it and try to face it and try to admit that it happened to themselves and then eventually kind of remedy the thing and move on,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very organized stereotypical German thing, which
Yeah.
is like we have 5 steps to do this incredibly difficult thing. And this movie has that stuff, but I don't think it quite lands, but I still find it really tantalizing and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes through in that like when Susie erases Klemper's memory at the end,
Yes.
like there's something there that I'm just not quite getting,
Uh-huh.
but I found really fascinating.
Do you think it's just because they sprinkle in that political messaging by pairing it into this witchcraft story? Not really pairing it in, but just talking about it loosely in the background. You see a wall, you see a Boeing aircraft.
Well, there's like the
hijacking.
hijacking of the Lufthansa flight,
There
and
you
then
go.
the Bader-Meinhof thing,
protest.
like all of that. Like
So it's like 6 things happening.
I don't know enough about it. Like I would have to
Yeah.
really read all about it.
But it just like, even if it was like a made up political situation, even if it was not set in Berlin, set somewhere in friggin', I don't know, India or something, and they were making up a war.
No, it's real. It all happened. That all
Of
happened.
course,
yeah.
of course. I'm saying if they had chosen to go with a made up war situation or whatever, right?
Yeah.
What is the point of that in a movie like this?
That's what I'm kind of wondering.
Even with a real life situation of like showcasing Berlin Wall and stuff, I was just like, okay. I just want to see more witch titties. I mean, it did nothing for me in terms of the
Really?
plot or intrigue. Couldn't care less about the one male guy who's also played by Tilda Swinton. So
Yeah.
which is
Which-
after the fact you find out, right? It's not like something a moviegoer would go in knowing.
Which I found really interesting because something that Luca Guadagnino said in an interview was that the reason they did that and then subsequently denied it for like 8 months after the film came out until
Yeah.
finally they're like, yeah, of course it was Tilda. Everyone knew. Like so many people knew.
Yeah.
She plays 3 roles in this movie, which I find fascinating.
Mhm.
Tilda's an incredible actress. But he was saying that we didn't want the male gaze to like intrude upon this place, like
Right.
the Coven of Witches, like
Mhm.
in the dance hall, which I find really interesting because when you're out in the world,
Mm-hmm.
in this world that they're in, almost everyone, even small bit talking parts, are played by women as well,
Yeah.
which is like really interesting, except for the 2 detectives
Yeah.
who are
except for
played
the
who
two.
are like completely like humiliated, quote unquote,
Yes.
and like played off as idiots. They're just like used as pawns essentially.
Yeah.
And then there's like a waiter who's a man, and there's someone else who says like sit there, and that's kind of it. Like
Yeah. True.
it's such a
All females.
female role heavy film, right?
Mhm.
And again, like I'm not sure why. That doesn't totally land for me either. So essentially, we don't know why any film
Any
this film has
historical
any
event.
thematic relevance at
Yeah.
all. So just go fuck yourself, I guess. That's where we're saying.
I
I want to
mean-
move on to something really important.
Tell me.
A young actress named Dakota Johnson
Yeah, boy.
is in this film. She's
DJ.
the biggest part of this film. I would argue
Yes.
her and Tilda kind of hold sway.
Mm-hmm.
I love Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
And this movie only like fully cemented how much I like her.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have gone on a little rant a couple days ago about how I don't think she gets the respect she deserves.
Yeah, it's because she got Kirsten Stewart by 50 Shades.
Yeah, so here's my theory, which you've heard already, but you're just going to have to sit and listen to me.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't listen to you.
You weren't listening to me the first time. It's because I'm a man.
There
It's
you
because
go.
I'm a man.
I'm
Yeah.
busy doing
It's
witch
like, oh,
stuff.
men just talking on talking.
I got a hook for you.
So my thing about her is this, is like, she shows up in lots of good movies. She broke out in a great film, kind of people were like, oh, who's that lady? She's amazing. She's Hollywood royalty, right? Like she's the granddaughter of Tippi Hedren.
Mm-hmm.
She's the daughter of Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson,
There you go.
which I think plays against her actually.
Mm-hmm.
And yet when she kind of is in big movies these days, people are just kind of like, yeah, and anyway, so Dakota Johnson's in it, and then they talk about something totally different, and they don't really give her this. They don't.
Yeah.
No one ever acknowledges that, like, she's also really good in a lot of the stuff she does.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that, and I could be totally wrong, I could be fucking just off my rocker here, which I
Mhm.
totally acknowledge, is that Dakota Johnson does not work the way that like Tilda Swinton or Kate Blanchett do or anything like that.
Yeah.
But she does play roles that work to her strengths.
Definitely.
And yet people don't recognize those as roles that are like traditionally laudable.
Yeah.
In this movie, she plays a very kind of like laid, like closed up former Mennonite girl who's very feminine and stuff. And then kind of like, she like comes into her sexuality, but like barely. Like it's like very, you know, but she always kind of like, she hits exactly where she kind of needs to.
Yeah.
And I just think she deserves more. I think, and the reason I think this too is that she gets pigeonholed from 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah,
like,
that's a big one.
But she hasn't yet had her moment like Kristen Stewart where people were like, oh, this young lady can act.
There you go.
You know, which she clearly shows in stuff like The Social Network or Peanut Butter Falcon, which I thought was a really good movie.
Yeah.
This and my favorite role of hers of all time, 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean?
Again, that's a short role.
Yeah, and me and you were talking about this, and I was comparing her positively to someone like Shailene Woodley, who I think has the same thing.
There you go.
Where people are like, people don't, because we were watching Spectacular Now, which I think is an awesome movie.
Yeah.
And people aren't like, man, Shailene Woodley is a fucking hell of an actress. But she was like in like a franchise kind of series that just never landed.
No.
And she never really, no one ever, it's not.
She did more of the YA stuff.
Yeah, it's not disrespect. It's just kind of a lack of acknowledgement of their talent.
Yes.
But then Shailene Woodley also did something like Big Little Lies, where you're just like, she is so perfect for that role.
Yeah.
Having read the book like a monster. Like,
but
she
like,
is, yeah.
Even if they're not revered in the way that other older actors are, they're still getting big roles, like Big Little Lies, not a small thing.
Dakota Johnson
even
is
for Dakota Johnson,
The Lost Daughter. She's really good.
The Lost
in that.
Daughter.
Yeah.
There you go. Like even, I mean, she already got such a huge start, but for Kristen Stewart, man, what a bunch of shit show films until I think most recently where people had to take a step back and be like, okay, Crimes of the Future. Look at you acting your ass off.
Yeah, like
she's so weird and great in it.
But Kristen Stewart did stuff like Adventureland, which she was good in, right?
But I've never seen it all. Wasn't it more of like, you know, maybe advanced Kristen Stewart, advanced Bella or something?
That's actually the course that I teach on the weekends is advanced Kristen Stewart.
Advanced Twilight.
Yeah.
More. Where you been, Loca? It's fucking great. It's great. Like it's great to see her pick these weird films. And that's what DJ is probably also trying to do.
DJ also, in a lot of her like really good roles, has happened to be acting alongside like some of the most critically acclaimed performers.
Yeah.
So like in this,
Jonah Hill,
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
In this though, like Tilda Swinton, like that must be intimidating to say the least. Mia Goth. No,
another weirdo who like 100.
I want to talk about Mia Goth in a second.
Yeah.
But like in The Lost Daughter, for example, which I think Dakota Johnson is fantastic in.
Yes.
She's acting alongside fucking Olivia Colman, who's basically
man. Oh
like,
my God.
like, did Olivia Colman like burp and fart this year? Give her an Oscar. Just like nominate her. Like,
there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, what a king.
Yeah, Olivia Colman's incredible. Also, I was turned on to this by I think probably the Big Picture podcast, but everyone go watch the Architectural Digest video of Dakota Johnson giving a tour of her home. You'll fall in love. She's such a charming person. And her kind of candidness about this movie I thought was really charming too.
Yeah.
Because for one, she was filming the last thing of 50 Shades of Grey and training to dance for 2 hours a day.
Jesus.
Every fucking day. And she said, I have a quote here actually on filming of Suspiria. She said, Suspiria, no lie, fucked me up so much that I had to go to therapy. We were in an abandoned hotel on top of a mountain. It had 30 telephone poles on the roof, so there was electricity pulsating through the building, and everyone was shocking each other. It was cold as shit and so dry.
Oh.
Yeah.
The real immersiveness of it all.
So she gave that interview, which I read, which I actually think was in W Magazine.
Yeah.
And then she kind of walked it back and was like, no, it was like an incredible experience. It was really, really hard though.
Yeah.
And like our boy Orlando Bloom in Kingdom of Heaven, I don't think she gets a lot of credit for how physically demanding doing what she's doing in this movie must be.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, so I don't know. Dakota Johnson, keep it up, man. Just
You're
keep
fucking doing it, D.
acting.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You know who's my Dakota Johnson, and we've talked about it just like that, is getting kind of recognized for certain kinds of roles and only being talked about in certain contexts. And we've mentioned it before, but Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
He's just a goofy guy, but he was
nominated for 2 Academy Awards.
Yeah. Because he's so fucking, but like nominated, right? It's like fucking give it to that guy.
He will win one.
Give
for
it
sure.
to that guy.
But he's the thing about Jonah is that like even in his comedic roles, you still sometimes are just like, this guy is fucking acting the shit.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like he's so funny.
Yeah.
That sometimes like some people like Seth, I like your boobs, Rogen.
Yeah.
Is kind of like effortlessly funny.
Sure.
Whereas like Jonah Hill really is like dialed in funny, and
Acting
you're just like,
hard.
This dude is unreal. How funny he is. And then he in serious roles, you're just like, well, he's just a consummate actor. You know.
To me, he feels like Bill Hader and Barry level. Like when they both do serious roles, you cannot take your eyes off of them.
But even he was nominated for Wolf of Wall Street, and I don't consider that a serious role.
No.
That is like a really zany role. But then in something like Moneyball, which I believe he was also nominated for, he's very dialed, like pulled back.
Sick.
Yeah. Ugh. Do you think Jonah Hill should have been cast in the Dakota Johnson role in this movie, actually?
I mean, he can get on his toes. I've seen that boy.
Yeah, that guy can dance, dude.
Oh, yeah.
That man can dance.
I bet he's got a few steps, and he can.
I bet he was training for 2 hours a day to dance.
In Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
Just right next to Margot Robbie.
Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street was originally going to be a musical, and then Martin Scorsese was like, no, cut it.
Wolf.
Wall Street! Sorry, everyone. Sorry, I apologize for that.
Hey, what movie we're talking about? Suspiria. Hardly know her.
I'm going to turn this podcast into a morning zoo style, kind of just doing puns and shitty jokes and stuff.
Should we get into the plot?
Yes, because, I mean, yeah. There's, yep.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Tell me about
Suspiria.
Suspiria.
So, 1977, Germany, Patricia, played by Chloe Grace Moretz. She kind of stumbles into her psychiatrist's office. This guy named Klemperer, played by Tilda Swinton.
An unrecognizable old man.
Heavy
Tilda Swinton.
old man makeup. Not unrecognizable because.
Well, that's because she's wearing prosthetic dick and balls. That's why you can't tell.
Yeah, complete with a prosthetic dick and balls. Yeah.
Pants on all the time, but doesn't matter. We know it's there.
You know what I read too was that she asked for the dick to be like a foot long. Flaccid.
On a 90-year-old
totally
guy.
Flaccid. She was just like, I don't really quite feel it because the dick's not a foot long.
Excuse me, can you grab a Subway for my pants? There we are.
Actually, in Germany, it's called Eins Subway. Sorry.
Go away.
It's just filmed in Italy. What do I know?
Subway.
Eins Subway. So that's the plot.
Go on. You
basically, Patricia runs off she's come from the dance academy. She runs away.
Yeah.
Susie, played by Dakota Johnson, she arrives. She has a really impressive audition.
Yeah.
Which Tilda Swinton just kind of happens upon and was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Little do they know there's some witchcraft afoot, obviously, with why they selected her. Once she's established in the academy, we hear this like vote happening between Marcos and Blanc, and Marcos wins. We don't know why. It's a total mystery at this point.
It's important to note that the dance company is called the Marcos something company.
The Marcos Dancing Company for witches who love to dance.
And titties.
Yeah.
So all the teachers or dance teachers who teach there are running a vote, and between that, most of them end up choosing Marcos as the
Marcos wins. Marcos
leader.
wins.
Yeah.
And then basically from there, we get into some dancing, where Olga, one of the characters, freaks out and wants to leave. She calls everyone witches, pointedly calls everyone a big bunch of witches.
Yeah.
And tries to leave, and then she's basically contorted into disgusting ways as Susie dances the main part for what they're working on, which is a dance number called Volk. And as she dances, she fucks Olga up. And this actress, I believe, is a contortionist, which is, so that shit is fucking crazy.
Incredible. Even the way
really
it's
cool.
filmed, even the mirror sequence, it's like in parallel, you see that when Susie throws a left arm, Olga's arm fucking goes out of whack, and basically her like rib cage starts to stick out, and her neck, her jaw like
really
dislocates.
gross.
It is incredibly made.
It's disturbing,
but
there's
yeah.
I think at this point too, we should point out the music and the score is done by Tom York of Radiohead.
What's up?
If you're into that sort of thing, I mean, I can't really blame you. I don't like Radiohead.
What?
No, I don't like Radiohead at all. But this music in this movie is quite good. And also a lot of the kind of like diegetic sound in the film is awesome. So when they start this like first dance sequence, the lady who's controlling the record is spinning it backwards, and it's like the most unnerving sound.
Yeah.
And I really like all of that kind
It's
of
well
stuff.
done.
And
that purposeful intent of setting that tension even before. That's why every time I'm just like, oh god, something's about to happen, even when nothing really happens because of the sound.
Yeah. And there's also like there's a solid little like piano thing riff that plays again and again in the film.
Yeah.
Also, this film is really long for one. So like the music, don't like Radiohead, but yeah, the music is
good
really
job
good
in this film.
Yeah.
Such a good job. I mean, to the point that I just had it thrown on in the background when I was doing dishes just to feel something.
Just to feel like you're a witch.
Yeah. If I could just Wingardium Accio these dishes.
Was everyone in your house just like, why do I feel miserable all of a sudden? Was it because of this uncomfortable...
I'm plotting shit in the kitchen.
It reminded me a little, though not too much, but I remember reading about a film that I've talked about before on this podcast and really reiterate, don't ever watch it. Film Irreversible. The music of Irreversible is done, I believe, by Thomas Bangalter, who's one part of Daft Punk.
Sick name.
Yeah, really good. I don't know why he went with Daft or Punk. I don't know which one he is. But he's part of Daft Punk, and he did the music for that. But he deliberately made it on these like, I don't know a lot about music, so bear with me. But it's like on these like wavelengths that cause dis-ease, because they're, and so you like hear them, and I remember feeling that when I saw it. I was like, this is so like, it's so uncomfortable. That movie has like really incredible music, but and that's kind of, I think, what happens here a little bit when you hear these wonky sounds and you're just kind of like, oh, what the fuck?
But it still keeps with that kind of, in this movie, in Suspiria 2018, it still keeps with that shining level of like dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
dun, like
shining music is very similar
to this. So it was intriguing because some shit's about to happen, but I can't take my eyes off.
The music in this movie, you're just like, I don't want to dance. I don't want to dance at all.
No,
I want to have a nap. Fuck you. I want to have a terrible dream.
A little depression nap.
So essentially, like, Susie rises through the ranks of this dance troupe and eventually kind of takes on the main role. All through this time, she's having these nightmares, which I think are fucking amazing filmmaking.
Yes,
they're so haunting and upsetting.
Yeah.
And cool. And the way that they're filmed, they like harken back to 70s filmmaking a little bit.
Exactly that.
There's like snap zooms and even the kind of the color and the way it lingers on shots and stuff. I really like that a lot.
I don't know why it reminded me of Vertigo. Have you seen that one?
Oh God,
OG,
for a really
like
long time.
It just
not since it came out in theaters when I was like
negatives 3 years old. Yeah. That's the one. My God, it was great. It's a lot of like that kind of unease, like
Ooh, spooky.
God, watch this movie.
So, and then she gets close with Sarah, played by Mia Goth.
Yeah,
Mia Goth. We can talk about her right now. I just watched Infinity Pool. You know how big of a fan of X I was. Speaking of people playing old people roles,
what's up, Pearl?
Mia Goth is having a real moment, I think, in the world.
Mia Goth and her sweet weird face.
Yeah.
Perfect for a role like this.
Yeah.
Or this genre generally.
But this is weirdly her most normal role. This one?
Yeah. Gorgeous.
Because like when she actually turns into a kind of like thrall, like a zombified thrall, she doesn't do anything. Whereas when she's just normal Sarah, she's just a very normal British young lady. Yeah.
In the movie she's American, but yes.
No, she's not.
Is she British in the film?
She speaks full on British in the movie.
What?
You what, mate? You cool.
I thought they were both bonding because they're both from America. Fucking, I had it way wrong.
No, dude.
My bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, Americas.
Way to listen.
I don't understand when they speak.
I don't understand the word you're saying, mate.
No. Unless you're speaking American. I'm not about to pay attention to this shit.
Unless you're
hear.
from Ohio.
There you go.
You're speaking American.
Shout out to Ohio DJ Town.
Yeah.
Yep.
Americans don't know anything.
What do you mean? Go
I don't
on.
think they know how to talk at all. So Klemperer gets suspicious of this school because it's a pretty suspicion-raising place.
Yeah, it's more like Suspiria, am I right?
It looked... Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
What's up?
I'm trying to get through this plot here. Jesus Christ. Gotta contend.
Suspicionary.
Gotta contend with your goofy jokes.
I'm sorry.
And I'm just here being serious this
It's
entire
true.
time. So Klemperer, he meets with Sarah and
Yeah.
he wants to ask her about Patricia and says like she had all these kind of like thoughts and she thought everyone was a witch and Sarah was like, no, that's crazy.
What a wild concept.
Wild, insane.
We're in the modern times of 70s.
Yeah.
it
And
together.
he says something I thought was really kind of poignant for the themes of the movie. 2 lines in this scene. He says, delusion is a lie that tells a truth, which I thought was really
Nice.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he says another thing to her. He says, you can give someone your delusion. That's religion. That was the Reich. I was like, this is thematically relevant, but I'm not smart enough to know why.
Yeah. That's what he says. He's like, he doesn't believe in like superstitions or witchcraft or all of that stuff, but he does believe in crime. Like you can do terrible things with the facade of like, oh, I'm just a witch, but like, nah, bro, you're straight up murdering.
Yeah. Like he believes that anything supernatural that's happening is not, it's a delusion, right?
Yeah.
Which the witches later prove they're like, nah, bro.
Nah, we out
It's
here
not
for
real
reals.
shit. It's that good
It's that
witchcraft. Yeah.
It's that good witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Which I also wanted to note too that in an interview with Jezebel that Luca Guadagnino did about this movie, he says the interviewer asked him, they're like, I felt like I dreamed that, and he said every movie is a dream.
Oh.
So this guy's a fucking artist, man.
Did he make
Love it.
Inception also?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Christopher
We
Nolan
dreamt
is the
it the
pen name
whole
of Luca
time.
Guadagnino. So eventually Sarah becomes suspicious. First she dismisses it.
Yeah.
Then she becomes suspicious as well. She goes and she finds like this secret room. She finds all these relics and like all this other kind of stuff.
Porcelain tits.
Yeah, there's a statue entirely made of tits, which I think is like fucking amazing.
But there's one like a porcelain statue made of tits and also nicely centered.
Yeah. Also, there's a picture, like a picture that's like framed in skin and hair.
Yeah, because I think it's all the hair that they collect from all the young dancers and they glue it onto Marcos's portrait. So Marcos and Tilda Swinton's character, Madame Blanc, are sitting together in this picture.
Yeah.
And the frame is flesh and hair.
Yeah.
Love it.
And yeah, it's
so
really
sick.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually in repeat this movie rewards repeat viewing because it does show a lot of these things that you like. I even noticed, and I'm not going to be able to kind of note them now, but when Patricia goes to visit Klemperer in his first thing, she looks at all of these different items in his office and reacts to them, and they all come back later in weird different ways, which I find really like. There's a picture of him and his wife, which becomes important later. There's a book which I don't remember the title, but like it's really interesting. You see it all kind of.
Yeah. It's because I think the witches are able to see through these young students because they're controlling their urine, they're collecting their hair, they're doing all this stuff. So maybe anywhere they go, there's eyes and ears on them. So if they go to the police or go to a therapist, it's like they can hear you from way across the street.
I've often heard that if you drink someone else's pee, then you can see through their eyes.
Yeah. That's
a real thing. That's science. Yeah. People, we haven't really revealed this yet, but this is a pro drinking piss podcast. if people are trying to hint
babe,
at
is our life even real? Is it? Jesus Christ. This is why my mother can never listen to this podcast. Love you.
She's
all.
listening right now. She's in the room. Yeah. So the thing too is that they have all these details.
Yeah.
But because the movie's not very plotty, it kind of like doesn't. It's just kind of an interesting visual thing. I
Yeah.
don't think it like
No
Yeah.
need for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
this
can do
movie
without it.
is like 60% vibes, 40% plot, kind of. That's,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally.
Whereas like some of the Antichrist is like 80% vibes,
Yes.
20% plot. That's
Yeah.
kind of
And by plot, you mean, oh, angry, sad lady, chop your dick off. That's the plot.
done. That's,
Oh, spoilers.
I think that's how Lars von Trier probably pitched it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, angry sad lady chops a guy's dick off. Sold.
Anyway, vibes 80%. Off the
Imagine
charts,
if Lars
boy.
von Trier talked that way. 80% vibes, baby.
For
That's
real,
why
for
I made
real.
a movie about a guy serial killing people. House that Jack built. Have you seen that movie? We're gonna do it on this pod someday.
Okay, sick.
Only I have seen that movie, I think, in the world.
It's
a real.
It's you and Lars von Trier sitting together.
I don't even think he watched it. To be honest,
He made it
yeah.
and pieced out.
He was just he dropped the mic at the can reception, and people were like, "Yeah, that was a piece of shit."
People are like, oh, chaos did reign. Worst.
They go on to do this performance, right? This is when Sarah decides to go exploring the rest of the fucking dance academy, and
Yeah.
even though she's got to be performing, gotta say, the costumes that they wear in this performance are really interesting, and I want to get to them in a second. But just to get through this, she goes to explore. She finds Patrizia in a very kind of zombified state. Olga is also down there as well. Marcos is just sitting there in the corner very creepily. And then as Sarah tries to escape, she breaks her leg.
Yeah.
And the witches come down and they kind of enrapture her and turn her into a bit of a zombified lady, and they're just like, no. And then she goes up and she dances on her broken leg and
Yeah.
whoa. And then
Because she's not aware.
and then she finishes the performance by writhing on the floor and screaming her cute little head off,
Yeah.
which is a real show for the people who showed up to watch the dance performance.
Yeah.
Now, there's something with these costumes that,
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the feminist themes that are in this film, they wear these red costumes made of red rope,
Yeah.
and they're doing a very aggressive and unhinged kind of dance, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's something to the symbol of them being clothed in rope,
Yeah.
but able to be like free and kind of like really expressive and stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. Also, they just look fucking sick. They just it's such a great fucking
it's
costume
so fucking
choice.
metal. This whole movie is, but that dance sequence specifically is incredible. They I don't know about that freedom part. I think because every movement is like jarring and start and stop immediately, there's like stomping and then push pull. I think that freedom is restricted, but like it's because of the ropes that they're wearing, is that they can't truly be free. But I don't know.
I don't know. I think that there's something about how they're wearing a thing that could be used to bind someone to something,
Yes.
and yet they're fully expressing themselves as
Yeah.
in their art, right?
Beauty.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think about it.
This is, and I'm not like a big let's go watch a performance live, but if this was the type of stuff that they played often, I'd be down to see it live. It was cool to see.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Certainly. It's interesting when movies do stuff like this, when you're just kind of like, when Hollywood gives out awards kind of at the end of the year, and they're just like, oh, these 9 movies that no one saw are great and we should give them awards. They always, when you see some movies, you're just kind of like, I wish they had different, like, recognized other people, because the choreography in this movie obviously took a lot of work and was really interesting. Same with the costuming gets an award,
100%,
but it's the same when people kind of like, when you watch something like John Wick, where you're just kind of like, why don't they do like stunt awards and shit like that? Like, you know what I mean?
Do they not? I thought
no, they don't.
Oh my god, because that is like 90% of the film hinges on stunt choreography.
But yeah, like I think there's some vast parts of like filmmaking that go undersung.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Not, as I said earlier, just like performers who not only have to act but also have to do incredibly difficult physical things.
Oh my gosh.
I find to be like, people don't like recognize that at all. They're just kind of like, yeah, but like,
yeah, she's a gymnast who's been doing it since she was 9 months old. Like,
but
you know,
a lot of them haven't. That's the thing. A lot of them are just like normal people, and then like you look at fucking what's his name in Creed, and he's just kind of like, all I ate was plain broccoli and trained for 7 hours a day.
Ay.
And you like, and it's like, dude, this guy couldn't box before. Like
Michael B. Jordan?
it's like he couldn't box
Jeez.
7 months ago. Now he could probably beat up a fucking
Look at him.
featherweight, you know?
He could beat up a broccoli for sure. Easy.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't think that gets enough recognition. I think
Yeah.
a film like this also doesn't get enough recognition. I think for something like that,
Definitely.
for not just Dakota Johnson having to do the dancing, even though I'm sure there was body doubles involved, things like that.
Yeah.
But also there's real dancers in the cast who
Yes.
also act and do the dancing, and there's a choreographer who fucking organizes it all.
Yeah.
Academy, call me.
I mean,
So-
that girl Olga, give her like 7 awards right now.
Yeah.
She fucking nails
Best contortion.
it. Oh.
Yeah.
Such a good crier too. Anyway.
It's a great performance. We watch a lady break her leg, which is amazing, and the audience is like, "Oh, bravo!"
Mhm.
And then it's basically like it's time to get to the witching. So
Yeah.
Klemperer's wife reappears, who is played by the woman in Suspiria, the original Suspiria.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, how did I not know that? Oh, damn.
She's older now. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
sick.
her. That's her, and
She's gorgeous.
she's beautiful. Yeah.
Fucking great.
She's good in this too. She kind of brings him to. She kind of walks with him, and then eventually they're in front of this dance hall, and it's not her. She's been a witch the whole time.
It was a vision that these witches had cast.
Yeah. And then they drag him into the dungeon
Mhm.
as a witness for something that we don't know yet. And then Dakota Johnson goes down to the dungeon and sees the real performance.
Yeah.
Which is these naked witches whipping around their hair,
Yep.
and poor Mia Goth getting her belly cut open, and Patricia too.
Oh my god.
And sexy
Incredible.
Jabba the Marcos sitting in the chair being
What
like,
the
I am your
fuck?
mother now.
Just a nuclear attack just waiting to
What
happen.
happened? You know?
I think it's because that body needs a new. Well, that her soul needs a new
Like,
body.
how
or
old is
whatever.
she? Hasn't she been dancing? Like, hasn't she kept in shape? Like, come on.
But it's politics. That's how they keep her around. They're always voting for Marcos.
I've always said that politics gets in the way of dancing.
Yeah,
it
that's
always
true.
has. Yeah, God.
It's bureaucracy.
Mother Marcos thinks she's mater suspiriorum,
Mm-hmm.
and then she kills Madame Blanc. She half chops her head off.
Tilda Swinton leans forward like a fucking Pez dispenser, dude.
It's gross.
It is incredible.
Yeah,
Just
this
like,
last sequence is incredibly violent. Yeah.
and then just the back of her neck is gone.
Yeah, and then Dakota Johnson is like, "Nah, girl, I'm Mother Suspiriorum."
I am she.
And then she summons death to kill everyone who voted for Marcos,
Mm-hmm.
and also give
Politics.
Mia Goth and Chloe Grace Moretz the sweet embrace of death as well, because they're suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then now she's the dancer.
Now
She's the best dancer now.
She's number one Suspirium.
And then like the movie just carries on. She's the head of the dance academy or whatever. Or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Like, and then she frees Klemperer and then goes to him in his hospital bed and tells him what really happened to his wife. And his wife died during the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
And then she erases his memory and returns back to the dance academy. And the last shot of the film is really cool.
Yeah.
I really like the last shot of the movie.
What do you think happens in that last shot of the film?
I don't know, but it kind of pans past this trail where Klemperer had this cabin. I believe in East Germany, he had this cabin, this country house, they say, even though it's like as country as Berlin can get, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it kind of pushes in on this wall where he had carved his initials with his wife.
Yes.
But the cabin is obviously inhabited by others at this point who have, I thought it was really sweet.
What about the last shot?
You mean the post-credit sequence?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you saw that.
What do you think happens in that post-credit sequence with Dakota Johnson's face and then just her hand reaches out off screen? We don't see what she's touching or turning.
It's like she throws a switch or something. It looks like she pushes a switch up.
Something.
And then she looks off screen and then walks into... She's definitely outside the academy.
Yeah.
You can tell there's a street lamp in the background.
That's right.
I don't know.
I thought it was like keys or something. Like, is she, because she owns the spot, the dance studio?
Maybe.
Is she erasing the audience's memory when she does like the hand up to down? Like we're supposed to
Maybe
forget?
someone can tell us. I don't know. There's got to be someone who's
There's
seen
a
this
lot
movie
of
out there.
her touching someone's face that erases their memory. Tilda Swinton's character does that to her when she's not even watching. So like Dakota Johnson, when she was just a student at the studio, meets her mentor and she's eating something and Tilda's behind her and does the hand motion
Mm.
over the back of her head. So maybe it's just like, boof, you've forgotten witch magic success.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
my
the end of
God.
the movie. Did you notice some of the thank yous? Did you
No.
read those?
Tell me about the thank
A
yous.
couple big names in the thank yous. Paul Thomas Anderson,
Fuck yeah.
first thank you.
Excellent.
Although
yeah,
it
because
may
he consulted.
it may be in alphabetical order.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin Tarantino,
Okay.
Edgar Wright.
Well done.
Did you notice who the film was dedicated to? The memory of
No.
one big name in there was dedicated to 3 people.
Tell me.
Jonathan Demme, which I thought was really sweet.
Oh.
Yeah.
And did you say 3 people?
Yeah. The other 2 I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But Jonathan Demme stuck out to me as
Huh.
being Silence of the Lambs being one of my favorite films ever.
Not to the Arturo. Am I saying his name right? The old Suspiria.
Dario Argento.
Argento.
No.
Thank you. Sorry, I fucked up.
No.
Argento.
But yeah, it was interesting. And that's Suspiria.
Not Suspiria.
It's a fucking good movie.
Damn, the Suspiria OG and Suspiria New G should get together and make a film with Guillermo del Toro and just fucking call it Movies for Pre, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big
that'd be-
Guillermo fan, hey?
That'd be great. Well, like, not his TV show and stuff, but
I thought some
Mama
of it was good.
is fucking
Yeah.
great. I know it has a goofy ending, but my God, that movie fucked me up, dude. The reason that I always just like pause before opening a closet like that is shaped like yours is because of that goddamn film.
I haven't seen
because
it.
of these blinds. Closets with blinds. Why? Just be a regular door.
Just take the door off. Throw it at your window.
Keep it open.
I've got a top 5 today.
You got a top 5.
Bringing it. Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Well, this movie kind of it falls into this interesting category of like horror thriller films. Of the art is actually evil.
Yeah, dance horror.
So like it's not there is artists in the movie and there's also horror. It's like the performance itself is
Yeah.
the evil.
Yeah, knitting sucks.
Yeah.
Like, don't knit.
Yeah, no
unless
one's
you're
yet made the
Satan.
crochet horror film, but we're getting there. They're running out of ideas. So, I want to note that like the picture of Dorian Gray is probably like the beginning of this,
Nice.
like that book and film, which is in 1945. So I
Beautiful.
didn't see that in theaters. And then I want to just note a couple other honorable mentions, which I looked up, which I thought one that was really interesting is Blowout,
Okay.
which we love, the De Palma movie,
Oh yeah.
because
fuck
he's
yeah.
like a Foley artist.
Yeah.
And like that totally figures into the, Hereditary. She does miniatures, although I don't think that's a great example because like
Fair.
I don't think they actually do figure into the plot that much.
No.
Uh,
She just obsesses over them to the point of
yeah.
displaying her terrible life incidents through that.
Tar has
Oh
has
yeah.
some of that for sure.
Fuck
the
yeah,
art
Tar.
kind of turns her evil in
Funny
a
you
way.
say that. I was just thinking about it like mid podcast 30 minutes ago of like how there's tension in that movie and that's not a horror film, but you're still just so
Yeah.
uneasy the whole time.
Tilda could have been Lydia Tarr. I think she
For
could have
sure.
definitely.
I think
love
they are the
Kate.
same person. I mean, they're
Yeah.
fucking powerhouses, of course, but like, yeah.
I love I love Kate Blanchett a lot. Like I think she's probably one of the greatest living actors. I don't think that's an understatement. And I think she should have won an Academy Award for her work.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. But I was like when I watched this movie, I was like, yeah, Tilda could have really given that a run.
I think Tilda has an alien quality about her that makes her better for these supernatural quote unquote films. So
Yeah.
like when she plays Ancient One in Doctor Strange or whatever, she fucking nails it. Believable. Kate Blanchett in Doctor Strange? Maybe not.
Isn't she in Thor?
Yeah, but she plays like a goddess.
Yeah.
You're still playing like someone
Regal.
relatable-ish.
Regal, who could fly off
There
the
you
handle
go.
at any moment.
Yeah.
That's kind of who she is
Yeah,
in Tar. Another one, Secret Window. Have you ever seen Secret Window?
Johnny Depp?
Yeah, Johnny Depp.
Oh, yeah.
Tim
oh,
Blake
ages
Nelson.
ago.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Here's my actual top 5. I'm not endorsing all of these movies. I just want to be clear about that. Okay.
You're just
'Cause
endorsing the crime.
One of them I may have mentioned recently
Ooh.
because it's Black Swan.
Oh,
I think that
that's right.
movie fucking sucks.
Yeah, dance horror within dance horror.
The thing, can I be clear about what I hate so much about Black Swan?
Yeah.
I think it's a perfectly competently made film.
Yes.
I think Natalie Portman is just okay in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a stupid idea that seems like it was like thought up by a 23-year-old and then made into a better movie than the idea is. But when that movie came out, you just had to hear people being like, "Oh, Black Swan! Oh my, Black Swan! Oh my God, Black Swan is amazing! Black Swan! Have you ever seen Black Swan?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it fucking sucked ass." And also, here's the other thing: Darren Aronofsky, who's, as I've said, is hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
The Wrestler is so much better.
Incredible.
And no one gave it the credit that they were. Oh, Black Swan's amazing. The Wrestler is so much better.
Right.
Oh man.
The Wrestler, though, to your point, is way more emotive than Black Swan could hope
It's
to
less
be.
cool.
Less cool.
Yeah.
More kind of straightforward.
And to be fair, when Black Swan came
sad.
out, I was a 20-year-old, and so people who were around that age were just like, genius, brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dancing.
Yeah.
There's actual swan in it.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, I feel like
who is the swan?
Wrestler might be a big crowd puller for dudes.
You like the Wrestler a lot?
I love the Wrestler.
Yeah.
But I just mean like generally, Black Swan might attract a lot of the female audience. The Wrestler might attract.
I just want to be clear. That's not why I don't like it.
Yeah. No. Of course, I'm just saying that because of the nature of the art itself, wrestling versus ballet dance.
I think there is definitely something to it that ballet is a little more highfalutin for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Which it kind of makes the point in Black Swan where it's like she's not unlikable because of the dance stuff. She's unlikable because what else is there to see?
That's all she has in her life.
That's
basically.
all she does. Yeah.
Can I ask a really important question? Do you think Tilda Swinton could have played Randy the Ram in The Wrestler?
She could fucking.
I know it was like a big comeback for Mickey Rourke, but like
this whole time I thought that was her
if
under
like
a Mickey Rourke mask.
If Tilda got like swole and just fucking
Tilda Rourke. Fuck yeah, the crossover.
All right,
did not need it.
that's number 5 is Black Swan. Number 4, I have a two-parter in here: Joker
Okay.
and King of Comedy, which I just recently watched.
Well
which
done.
I'm basically like, well, King of Comedy is like much better than Joker.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Joker is definitely more like he's evil because of the clownness.
Yeah. He's evil because jokes are bad.
Ain't you ever seen this?
Jokes are bad.
He's not a funny guy.
No.
And that makes him evil.
That's right.
Among other reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
The remake of the Candyman.
Oh, number 3.
Evil art.
Hell yeah.
Evil fucking visual art.
Evil visual art.
His art is evil.
Sick.
It's good. I like that movie.
I
Candyman
love
was
that.
good, yeah.
I know we saw it in the theaters together, and the one scene that still kind of stays with me is you have like a view of a lady from across the street or across and she's just standing at her window and suddenly she gets
lifted
yeeted
off the ground.
whoa, from left side of the window all the way to the right.
I didn't think it was like incredible, but I quite like that movie. I've
So
watched it since, and I still am like,
surprising.
that was good.
It was good.
There's a lot about that I liked. Have you ever seen Velvet Buzzsaw? That's my number 2.
Fuck yeah, I love Velvet
That's
Buzzsaw.
literally the art I think is evil, if I
That's
remember
proper
correctly.
art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie.
I can't shit on any Jakey G films, man. Even I'm a huge Prince of Persia fan. I'm about
you mentioned that
life.
before. You talk about it in an uncomfortable amount. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Prince of Persia. It is I.
Moving on. And then the number 1, which I think is kind of like unquestionable and obvious, is The Shining.
Yeah.
I mean, the writing
Yes.
is the evil.
Are you trying to tell me something right now?
Yeah, I am. The Shining is a good movie. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay. I mean about writing in general as being an art form.
It is evil and satanic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Fuck
man.
yeah.
Suspiria. 2018. Suspiria. Yeah.
I hardly know her.
Suspiria? I hardly know her.
Such a good movie. Highly recommend watching 2018 one, even if you've not seen the 70s one. Doesn't matter. It's fucking great.
Who cares? It was the 70s, man. It's
Yeah, who was alive
2023.
then?
Fucking get over it.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. It's been The Low Ceiling. I've been John.
And I'm Pri.
Pri. This movie was directed by Luca Guadagnino. I'm
Shout
trying to
out
get
to our
everything in there.
boy.
Yeah.
Bye.